these, and what we're about to do is, by solving these using reciprocal, it's not the only way, but for today, for sure, we're going to use that method so we know that method. Later on, we can pick and choose which one we want to use depending on its the problem. Okay. So, but as I mentioned today, the first thing we're going to do is rewrite the problem with a fraction coefficient. So let's just do that a few times, and then we'll go back and solve it. So instead of just negative 8, I'm going to write it as negative 8 over 1. The red is the part I'm adding in. The black is actually staying the same. So our first goal is to get a fraction coefficient from the variable that we can take the reciprocal of and multiply. And I'm going to move on and do a few of those first. So same thing on number 9. This is a 1x. I'm going to make this 1 over 9x. Yeah. So all I did is just kind of move that x out of the way and put a 1 on top. And I had that fraction coefficient. On the back, same thing. 17. 1 over 9b equals 7 over 9. Just like that. No more, no less. And it doesn't matter if both sides are fractions or not. It's the exact same step for all. Okay? Now let's go back. Let's just solve it from there. So now multiply by the reciprocal. Whatever number is in front of the variable, take the reciprocal and multiply both sides. This may require a calculator, but not necessarily. You might find that some of them just cancel out pretty easily. So we have 1 over 9, so its reciprocal is 9 over 1. And you're going to show that on both sides. And then definitely put this part in parentheses, please. The part when you're doing it to both sides, make that in parentheses for sure. So it's easy to see from anybody looking at your work that that's what you're doing to both sides. Okay. Now the reciprocals always multiply to 1. See how the 9's on top and the 9's on the bottom, they cancel out. The rest are 1, so we have 1b. B. And then 7 over 9 times 9. You could do two things. You can multiply the tops, divide by the bottom. So 7 times 9 is 63. And then divided by 9 is back to 7. Or you could just cancel out the 9s, top and bottom, and you're left with 7 over 1, which is the same as 7. Or you can put in the calculator, just put 7 over 9 times 9 over 1, and that would say the same thing as well. So options there. But that's arithmetic. I'm not so worried about that. It should be correct because you could just put it in a calculator. But again, what I'm looking to see as far as when you're checking the work, did you make it a fraction? And did you multiply both sides by the reciprocal? That's what I'm looking for. Okay. And of course, the arithmetic, the answer should be correct as well. Okay. So I'll do just the two others that we already started, and I'll let you guys go. So like right here, you just multiply by its reciprocal, which is 9 over 1. Again, both sides. And if it helps you, you can make the -3 over here and -3 over 1. If you prefer that, you don't have to, but if you prefer it, you can do that. Show the 9's cancel out, one top and one on the bottom, so we're left with x, 1x. And then we have 9 over 1 times -3 over 1, which is -27 on top, 1 on the bottom, which is just -27. You never have to write the over 1. You don't have to put -27 over 1. You can just simplify it. And box it up. Nothing more than that, really. And this is more about just following the directions and resisting the temptation to say, I don't need to do that. I'm not going to do that. Here's my paper. Can I turn it in? and then me looking at it saying, no, you need to actually show all the algebra to get credit on this. Okay? Just like every homework, but even though it's not the fastest way, you got to resist the temptation to do it. Okay? And then you can always check your answer just to make sure. Like if I got an answer of -8 right here, plug it back in. Does it work? -8 times -8 equals, does it equal negative or positive? Positive 64, right? So I know -8 is the wrong answer. Because when I plug it back in, I don't get the right number. So you can always check your work pretty quickly and see if it's right or not. How come -8 is not the right answer here? Yeah. And sometimes this is what you miss, right here. A tiny little negative sign that looks like it's part of the equal sign, that's a negative sign. And so is this, so it's really +8. And after all this stuff, that's going to be the number one mistake, is watching your negatives to make sure you don't make a mistake, do all this algebra, and then you get it wrong because of a negative. I say to people on the quiz, there's 10 problems, they'll miss 5 of them because of a negative. They do all the algebra right, but then they get it wrong anyway. They get a D on a quiz. Like, not fair, but at the same time, you got to be careful as well. So that the way you prevent it is just do the check. So once I plug it in, -8 times 8, that is -64. It checks out. You know if your answer is right or wrong before you turn in your quiz. You've already checked them all. Whether you write it out off to the side and actually show it, like we did earlier last week. All right, -64 equals -64. Or you just do it in your head or on your calculator and verify for sure. But if these come out to be the same, then you know you have the right answer. If they come out different, something's wrong, and it's usually a negative. So that's how you get from that being that C or B quiz to that A quiz. It's catching those little things. If you know all the algebra, you're probably at like a B level. But if you know all the algebra and you don't get caught up on those little tiny details, that's what bumps you up a little bit. It's not knowing more algebra or being faster at it. It's just not making those little mistakes as often. Okay? All right, you guys can work for the rest of the period. You got a half hour to do not too many problems. This would be a good time